Sin Kid, Norm, and Gordon, get ready. You're next on the Reddit Golf Swing Analysis, Episode 12. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for Episode 12 of our Reddit Swing Analysis series. I want to thank you for everybody that sends me videos. I appreciate it. If you are interested in sending a video to be analyzed, the link is in the description below, or an email. Just send an email. Send 2 videos to that email, rather, from down the line and also face on. Please keep in mind that down the line, keep it about 8 to 10 feet behind, because in order to get a proper analysis, we do need it to be further back so I know where you're aiming, and I can also see plane issues that occur from other issues in your swing. This is just purely educational. I don't know these people's swings. I don't know anything about them. I don't know the range of motion, their ball flight tendencies, their history, their workout regimen. I don't know anything, so it's just pure blind. I watch these videos for the first time along with you, so we can go on this journey together and just kind of see what we see. And some of you might see other things, and some of you might see the same things, and whatever works. We're just out here talking about golf swings. But the most important thing I want you guys to remember is your golf swing is your fingerprints. It's very unique. So a lot of these swing tips and advice that you do read, although they are helpful for education, I wouldn't really apply them to you, because you don't know how that's really going to affect you, because we all have such different unique motions, and it comes down to as much synovial fluid in your wrists can affect your swing. And without knowing that, how can we address any problems? So lastly, if you do enjoy this, please go ahead and hit that sub button, and also notifications to know when we upload. We're going to upload some more swing video advice, not necessarily from behind the camera here, but out in the field, and I got a couple of episodes coming up for that too. So thank you again for the support, and let's get going. First up, we have Norm. Okay, Norm, let's take a look. Let's look at your notes really quick, Norm. You're a 14.4 right now. He's been playing for roughly 16 months. It's pretty good. Love an analysis in the swing. No problem. We'll do what we can for you, Norm. So no ball flight tendencies was issued to me, so I can't really tell. But let's just right off the bat put some lines here so we can kind of see what's going on. Now, Norm, it looks like you have shorter arms than your torso. And what you'll notice with this is your slot is much more narrower than somebody with longer arms. They have a wider slot. Good things and bad things occur with this. With longer arms, bigger slot, but they have to rely on their hands and arms to behave themselves, where somebody with shorter arms are actually connected more with the body, so it actually produces a lot more consistency in your motion. So some good things and bad things, but so far setup looks pretty good. Let's take a look at this, make sure this is where you're actually setting up. Okay, so plane's pretty close. It looks like you're a little bit toe heavy off the bat. I can see the heels kind of lifting a little bit, so maybe stand a little bit closer to the golf ball. But we'll take a look at your motion, see how it affects everything. And this is a big one too. Let's draw your shoulder tilt based on that spine. Okay, takeaway is pretty good. Arms are staying in that lower plane line. Club is fanning open, so you can see that club face is already pretty wide open to your spine angle. Ideally, in a textbook world, we like that club face to be matching your spine angle, and a nice little circle between your hands and your club face should be met, so they should be really connected there. Your shoulders are leveling out. I can see that the left shoulder is getting higher. That might help you turn. However, when you do level your shoulders out, that also increases your turn, and that can become uncontrolled. So sometimes you have some weight distribution issues. And at the top of your swing there, you can see you have slightly more level shoulders than you did at the start. So you can see it's a little bit of toe. You can see the weight shifting to the toes, and you're leveling your shoulders out, which allows you to turn more. Arms and hands do go back quite a bit, and that's a result of your leveling your shoulders to free up your left side. So recommendation there is just maybe work on a more one-piece takeaway to help you out, to kind of strengthen your stability, and also work on your left shoulder going down a bit to maintain your posture. But it could be going there, maybe because you're standing too far away, not sure, but it definitely looks like you're toe heavy now. Coming into the posture, you can see your shoulders, because they were a little bit more leveled, they're trying to get back underneath. You do a pretty good job. However, this club is kind of now below your plane line as a result of you standing up. So as you start standing up, you're getting further into the golf ball, you're raising your spine angle, and that brings your arms even lower as you raise up, and your club face is going to kick below the plane line. So I definitely see some contact issues, possibly blocks, maybe the occasional draw or pull because you save it with the hands and arms. Depends on what your hands and arms do in impact, but I would imagine just because of that excess shoulder turn, you might try and release it too soon or flick at it, or just try and help the ball. But we'll take a look at it from the front view. But definitely, you can see some issues with the weighting, specifically past impact. You're trying to drive into the target there, but your left foot is kind of spinning out. It doesn't know where it wants to go. It looks like you're trying to get that weight to the heel, but then, your toe's coming up, but then all of a sudden the heel spins on you. So definitely, I think a lot of this may be just standing too far from it, and you're very toe heavy, which causes you to turn more to get back to being balanced. So, everything stems from basics. So grip alignment, setup, posture. So just keep that in mind with everybody watching. But let's take a look at the front, see if this all makes sense there. Okay, Norm, let's take a look at the front now, and let's see. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but you have a really fluid swing. Really good. Sequencing is really good. So for somebody that's only been playing for 14 months, really solid. Okay, yeah, definitely. You see going down, and then we stay down. Okay, so you're stacking. So you're stacking pretty good. I'd say you can still see it. I mean, I don't know if you see much here, but let me see if this makes sense. I'm going to put your impact line here. Okay, so if we truly just turn around our spine, now let's put your shoulder tilt just to kind of show you. So if we truly turn around our spine, right there you're looking pretty good, right? You have this little V going on. We call this a power V. So, you don't want to be too far and you don't want to be too narrow depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Stack and tilt, so they keep that right against that impact line for as long as they can and tilt under it. But this is more traditional, you're turning around your spine. You can see the club is getting lower. You've definitely opened up that club face like we saw on the other side. Right at the top here, you can see that excess turn that you have is starting to shift your weight prematurely to that left side. So now all of a sudden your power V, where all your joints are basically connected on that line, if we take a look as you get to the top, now we have that shoulder's kicking over, hip staying there, this knee's kicking under. Now, kicking under, I don't mind seeing that, but if it's kicking under because your left shoulder is going too far back, that's where some weight distribution issues can happen. So I would definitely work on, and that all stems again from maybe you standing too far and reaching forward, you're very toe heavy and you have to make compensations to stay balanced. As you strike the golf ball, once we get down in here, let me clean up some of these Picasso lines going on here. As the club gets back down to parallel, so let's see if we can go to a couple of frames. There's one frame. Okay, so club is fairly close to being parallel in this frame. Your arms and your hands should look more like that. So you're about a hand width behind impact where you need to be. Next frame, club is kicking. That's a sign that you're throwing your hands. Okay, so you definitely try to release it, which is fine. However, we're starting to see a breakdown in your left arm as you come back through. There's that chicken wing, and it looks kind of like it's broken down. Now, there could be some causes for that. My first intuition is this right hand's really trying to catch up because it's been disconnected. The arms and hands have been disconnected, and I assume they're disconnected because when you take the club back, your arms just keep going back, and they disconnect from your core with your power source. And once they disconnect, they have a third of the time to reconnect, and either you have to slow down your rotation to allow your hand speed to catch up, or the last sign of resort is your hand flips to try and catch up for you because that club face needs to move really fast at the very end. So I would imagine, if you time this really well, you can hit it pretty good, but you could also suffer from some heavy shots, some thin shots, and also both direction misses. And then the follow through, you do a pretty good job as we keep going forward. Really good, nice extension follow through, getting your weight on your left side. So now you're meeting that impact line all with the whole body. So how you got there, overall, I mean, the whole thing is pretty nice. It just needs some tidying up. And I think your tidying up really comes from your setup. How that tiny little setup change could really dramatically affect the turning and the tilting. And once you turn and tilt correctly, I think things will kind of come through pretty easily. Club face winds up in a good position at the follow through. Okay, so it's slightly closed the follow through. So it went from open to close. So you're definitely, you got it in you. I tell you that. For 14 months, you've got 16 months to get down to a 14.4. you've got some skill. Okay, you've got definitely good hand-eye coordination. You have a smooth, buttery swing. So really buttery swing. A lot of great things happening here. Keep it up. Just consult somebody, please. Invest in your game. Get monthly lesson, or every other month, just to have somebody keep an eye on you, and keep it going. I'm gonna take a guess that you might be somewhere. Orlando. Just throwing it out there. Let me know. Let's see who is next. We have Gordon here. Let's see what Gordon says. So he's basically been working quite hard on my swing the last couple of months. He felt like his swing was too laid off, which means the club's pointing downwards at the top of his motion, and he feels like he's spinning out with the hips and getting stuck sometimes. Says he has a strong left hand, club face shut at the top, flat rests. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm just going to watch this first time. Okay, pretty good motion. Be curious to know how long you've played golf. But it's a pretty good motion there. So I don't really see pathways for you to get stuck. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look. All right, so setup. I'm not quite sure what club this is, but it looks like a mid iron maybe. Probably a 6-iron. Okay. Turning going down. Setting your wrists positions pretty early there. So slightly over the top, and you take away a little bit of a breakaway, takeaway. Not so traditional one piece, but that's still okay. You see many golfers do this, and they have a good motion. It's hard to tell where the club face is just because of the blur of the camera, but I can see it's slightly shut there. Top of your position, it's slightly shut. It's not too bad. Laid off, yeah, it's I've seen worse. I've seen worse laid off, so it's not bad. Do a good job transitioning. I just don't quite see where you would get stuck with what you're feeling. Maybe your feel of getting stuck isn't quite my feel, or what I'm used to dealing with when people say they get stuck. But let's look at the important lines here and see how your body acts to that important line. So you have a pretty low plane line. So you've given yourself a lot of room to work with, but unfortunately, because you do bend over a lot, you're going to have to keep this tilt in relation to that bend. So that's going to be a challenge for most people. You do a good job keeping your hands nice and low on that low plane line. You're still in your posture. Because you're very hunched over, you have to be very hunched over all the way through. Top plane line, you get your arm to the top plane line pretty well. I agree with you, it's slightly laid off, but it's it's nothing too concerning. Shoulders are raising just a little bit, so you see that little motion here. So your shoulders should still be tilting along that axis, so they do a good job to there. Once you get that extra motion back here, you can see your body standing up, your head kind of moves up, and your shoulders level out. So your shoulders level out to here. So you can see you've kind of kicked away from your initial spine. So if your shoulders are more comfortable in this position, I'd stand a little bit taller and a little closer to the golf ball so your shoulders can get in that comfort level. This could cause some laying off issues because you're basically straightening up everything. Coming on into it though, you do pretty good holding that back brace line. Club is falling into the plane pretty good. I don't see your body stuck. I mean, you can see the right elbow has a lot of room to work with. Look at that impact position. It's pretty close to your spine angle. You're definitely driving down. Your right shoulder's tilting plenty now. It's actually tilting the other way, which is good. So I'd say your shoulder tilt is a little bit of a concern, and that just comes from you standing up in your posture. So I think, if this was just me giving it some advice, definitely stand a little bit taller and closer. Maybe that'll help you, and you don't have to feel like you tilt so much in your golf swing because of that kind of condensed posture. Let's take a look at the front. That might help open us here. Okay, Gordon, let's take a look. So definitely a stronger grip, but the amount that you tilt into the shot, it's not going to be too bad. That just concerns me as you get a little bit older, that you can hold that body position. A lot of V going on here at the top of your swing. Overall, it's a pretty powerful motion. Yeah, you can see that we're from here. Okay, so you've done a good job with your shoulders. Your shoulders are still tilting. Now I think, quite honestly, if that's where you start to break down, and you can see by you getting your arms further back, you can't tilt anymore, or else you pop your back. So you have to relieve some of that pressure, and your shoulders have to now realign themselves so they can turn a little bit more. From that position now it's a little bit more up and down, and you have to compensate somehow on the way through. So I just see a little bit of compensation mode with your motion. Quite honestly, I wouldn't start addressing any swing changes. I would just address your basics, ball position, alignment, setup, and posture. So posture for me is, I think, your biggest thing here. You just look a little bit too grounded, too squatty, too forward. When you increase your forward bend, you have to really tilt under, and your body's not quite in a position to do so. So before you start changing grips, before you start changing anything in your swing, change the basics, change the fundamentals, and see if that kind of frees you up or changes the swing by themselves. If that doesn't work, then obviously consult somebody that can help you with your swing mechanics. But I think just readdressing your basics, so grip, alignment, setup, posture. Hope that helps. Very, very good move. There's a lot of power behind there. I can see you can strike the ball very hard. You can probably go really low if you are putting well, chipping well, hitting the ball well, but it probably doesn't happen too often, because I see that slight bit of rerouting can cause some issues, specifically with your ball contact. But let me take a guess. I think just because you started out the email with "Hey mate," I'm gonna guess somewhere in Australia or New Zealand. Let me know. Next up. All right, next one. We have a gentleman that goes by SinKid88. So I don't have a name for you, so SinKid, pleasure to see you. And there's no notes on here, so we'll just get right at it. Just basically says he appreciates an analysis. So right off the bat, I can see you're a very strong individual, very strong upper body. Just by looking at this, it looks very narrow, your feet. So with those wide shoulders you have, definitely want to give you some more foundation, because you have a lot of weight to support, and we don't want to see you breaking down. So let's see if that's the case here. Let's just play it and see what happens. Okay, yeah, so you can see that lower body. Setup's pretty good. Ball position is a little bit forward. I'm not sure what club that is, but if it's a mid iron or that's fine. But if it's a shorter iron, definitely want to move that ball position back a little bit more, so it's more in the center. But if you take a look at your left leg, how the left leg really just kind of bows down and breaks down on you, I think that's going to cause some issues with your weighting. We'll take a look at, as you get to the other side, how that affects you. But you can take a look there. So left leg is nice and steady. It's absorbing the turn, but now it's absorbing the turn and it's also buckling in. Maybe that's to help you turn more. I'm not sure if you're fairly tight. Maybe you need to get some stretching going on there to help you. But by that occurring, look what it does to your upper body. So now your upper body is starting to lean back towards the target. And that's going to have some weight shift issues. Because now your whole left foot wants to come up in the air. You can see it kind of almost picks up off the air and it starts to replant itself. So that replanting itself could cause some issues, and how it does it could cause some issues. But a good thing that you do, and I just want to point this out here, is this is a pretty solid motion here, as my computer decides to freeze on me. What is going on here? Okay, there we go. So one of the best things I see in the swing right now is this relationship between your shoulders and the arms. They're right in front of the shoulders. So couldn't be better. To me, that's almost perfect. Look at this nice little L you got going on with the club. That's solid. What's not so solid is from here down. So here up, looking pretty good. Here down, it's going to throw you off. As you come through the golf ball, you try and tilt under it. Be interesting to see how much room you have with your hands and arms, because I see the same sort of position as the last video with that kind of broken left arm, because maybe you're having to flip at it and create some room somehow. So it would be interesting to see that. But you do a pretty good job of following through, facing the whole target. It does look very stiff, the follow through. It doesn't look like you're actually getting all the way through and pushing off correctly. So it could be some weight issues on not allowing you to push off correctly. But big, strong upper body, I'm sure you get away with it. but we don't want to get away with things. We want to make sure they're more consistent. So let's take a look at from the back and see if this can help us. Okay, let's take a look at this one from down the line. Okay, hands and arms are really close together, so let's just take a look at that, because I think that's really important to note. I believe there's a reason why your knees start to buckle, is to create some room for your hands and arms to get to. So you can see in this position, once you start this backswing, you're so close. I mean, look, you can see a little bit of daylight here, but your hands are almost touching your thighs. So they have to create some room. You do look a little bit open too, so there's some alignment issues with you. But your arms are pulled inside, not a lot of room, so maybe stand a little bit further back. So, I'm going to draw from the center, from your arches. Your arches are supporting maybe the front half of your hips, where if you pull them back a little bit, they'll support your hips, your hip sockets. So pull them back, stand a little bit taller, give your arms some spacing and relax. Don't pull it so tight, because there's not a lot of room. So for you to create some room while you're turning, because to stay on the spine angle, you've got to turn. But if there's no room, you've got to create room. So I think that's where your leg issues come in. You brace you break the left leg to allow the right leg to brace and straighten out, to give you some room. And we can see that as you take that club back. There's that straightening, and it's almost completely straight to allow some turn to happen. And you get to the top lane pretty good. Your shoulders are pretty steady. They haven't really kind of realigned themselves. And from here, you're definitely an outside in motion, and you're trying to save it. You're definitely a strong person, so you can feel that club needs to get going, and you start flicking at it. Again, it's just breaking down. There's not a lot of turn going on. You've stifled yourself. Once you've straightened that right leg, you can't really turn, because it's almost locked. So you just you're going back and forth like a piston, but no real driving and turning. And as a result, you can see this follow through is more of a flip with your hands, and you try to turn, but look at that. Your hips look like they're struggling to turn. So check your range of motion too. I don't know if you need to do some flexibility issues or flexibility drills to help any issues you have with that. I'm not sure. I haven't diagnosed you, but it just looks very tight. But first of all, before you do that setup change. Stand a little bit further back. Let the arms just relax. See if that helps you, and let me know. And I can't quite tell where you're from, so I'm just going to take a wild guess and say, I don't know, Antarctica. I have no idea. Let me know. So once again, I want to thank everybody for following us and watching these videos. I enjoy making them. I just do it for the community and help you guys out. But just please always consult a PJ professional where he or she can really help you out, and invest in your game. It's worth it. Trust me. Till next time, episode 13, and it's going to be lucky for some.